أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our class today. Jazakumullah, especially to those who've been waiting patiently. On to our dua for today. Can I have a student for today's dua, please?
Can G2595 please unmute themselves?
G2595, Assalamu alaikum. G2595, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. So shall we start? Okay, so I'll recite and you can follow me. So one second, I just quickly change my cursor. There we go. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, would you like to read the translation?
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the redacted. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
Okay, so we recite Ta'awudh and Tasmiyah before reciting the Quran. Allah tells us in chapter 16, verse 99, and when thou recitest Quran, seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected. Reciting Bismillah before every deed invokes the blessings of Allah upon the deed. It is sunnah to recite it before every good deed. Okay, and on to today's dua is Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an.
Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an. Oh Allah, I ask you for beneficial knowledge.
Jazakallah, that's from Ibn Majah, hadith number 925. A hadith is a saying of the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. A hadith, the plural of a hadith, have been collected together and recorded. The above dua can be found in the collection known as Sunan Ibn Majah. Okay, Jazakallah for that.
Can my brother please read?
Yes, I'm sure. If you give me your brother's ID, then the discipline in charge can choose him later when she's going to choose. Just tell me his ID.
G2593.
G2593. Okay, that's fine. Jazakallah. Okay, Jazakallah G2595.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so on to our class etiquettes. And I hope you've all done ablution, which is wudu. And you're all in clean clothes. Your heads are covered. I hope you're sitting in a quiet place and your parents are present. It is important to use the correct ID. I've noticed some students don't have their correct IDs. But in that case, you won't be chosen to recite. So, and if you have any problems with your correct ID, if you don't know it, you can always ask us at the email that we show at the end. And we can give you your ID. Just ensure that you have your correct IDs. Okay, Jazakallah for that. Okay, so on to our daily schedule. So today's class is class number 44. The schedule is as follows. We've done our assembly and the opening dua and the announcements. The rule in focus today is assimilation, which is idgham naqis. And then at 6:20, we'll be practicing the text. And this will be chapter 80, verses 35 to 43. And then at 6:35, we'll be going on to our QRS section, which is part 19 today. And after that, at 6:40, we'll be going back to our practice text again. And then from 6:50 to 6:55, we'll be consolidating with the homework and the closing dua, inshallah. Okay, so on to our rule in focus. So today's rule in focus is idgham rule. So the idgham rule is linked to the rules of noon sakin and tanween. When a noon sakin or tanween is observed, a nasal sound is made. There are rules that tell you what that nasal sound is. One moment, okay. The next letter after a noon sakin or tanween decides the nasal sound. So you must always look at the next letter. So I hope that's clear. Let me explain to you here. Okay, so the rule in focus today is idgham, and that means assimilation. A simpler word for assimilation is merging. Merging occurs when two things come together. Assimilation rules tell us how to merge sounds of certain letters after noon sakin or tanween. Okay, so here you can see the letters of assimilation. The first letter is ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and noon. As you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters of assimilation. And in order to remember them easily, we use the phrase yarmalun. As you can see, the ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and noon joined together make the word yarmalun. That's an easy way to remember the letters of assimilation. Okay, so if you see any of these mushaddad letters after noon sakin or tanween, there will be some sort of nasal sound. Okay. So let's look at mim and noon. If you see any of these mushaddad letters after the noon sakin, there will be some sort of nasal sound. Okay, so the noon sakin is followed by a noon mushaddad. So as you can see, the word over here, as it is written, you will see this. You will see a noon sakin, which is the red one here. Why is it a noon sakin? Because above the noon, you can see a sukoon. And a sukoon makes this letter a noon sakin. The letter that comes after the noon sakin is a mushaddad letter. What does that mean? You can see a shadda above the noon. And in this case, it's a noon. So this noon sakin joins onto this noon mushaddad. Okay, that is how we see it written. Let me read that for you for a second. Min ni'matin, min ni'matin. So that's how it's written. And this is how we read it. So you will see the difference between how it's written and how we read it. It's written with a noon sakin, but in this case, how we read it is that the noon sakin merges into the noon mushaddad and it becomes a full nasal sound. So your nose vibrates and you hold it for 2 seconds, as is the rule for noon mushaddad. So as I'm reading it, you can hear the sound that is the full nasal sound for the noon mushaddad and the noon sakin that merges into the noon mushaddad. Min ni'matin. So we read it as min ni'matin. So that's the idgham for noon mushaddad in terms of noon sakin. Okay, let's look at tanween followed by noon mushaddad. So over here, you will see it as written. It is yawma idhin na'imatun. Over here, you can see a tanween letter. This is the tanween of kasra. As you can see, there are 2 lines beneath the dal, and this indicates that there is a noon sound after the kasra. So then. It's a noon sakin after the kasra. In this case, this noon sakin merges into the noon mushaddad, which is following the tanween. So we're talking about this rule here. This is the tanween of kasra, and this is the noon mushaddad. And how it's written is like this, and how we read it is like this. So you can see the difference. What's occurred here is that you see that the dal only is showing a kasra. It's actually read like that. It will be written like this in the first instance. So let me read the second one for you. يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٌ. So what's happened is that the noon sakin has merged into the noon mushaddad, and it is read as يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٌ. So the full nasal sound still occurs, and it's merged into the noon mushaddad. Okay. So if you see a noon sakin or a tanween, a nasal sound will be made. What's a noon sakin or a tanween? Let's just go back one moment. This here is a noon sakin, and this here is a tanween. This is a tanween of kasra. So what occurs when we see them? One moment. If you see a noon sakin or tanween, a nasal sound will be made. There are rules that tell you what that nasal sound is. The next letter after a noon sakin or tanween decides the nasal sound. So you must always look at the next letter. So if the next letter is noon mushaddad, there will be a full nasal sound. The same applies to a mim mushaddad. There will again be a full nasal sound. So that's what we've just learned, and hopefully that's quite clear. Okay, 1 second. We seem to have skipped a lesson. Okay, 1 second. Right, okay, on to that lesson. So if we see this, let's look at noon sakin followed by mim mushaddad. So this here in the red is the noon sakin. It's a noon with a sukoon above it. So it's become a noon sakin. In this case, there's a mim mushaddad after the noon sakin. The mim carries a shadda, and we know that's a connecting letter. So we're going to read it as mim malin. What's happened here is that the nasal sound is still there, but it turns into a meme, and we read it as a meme rather than a noon sakin, because the nasal sound turns into the meme nasal sound. So let me read it for you and how I recited it. You will see it written as a noon sakin, the noon merges into the meme and it becomes a meme nasal sound. So it's written as noon. I'll read it twice. So mim malin and mim malin. So you can see it's recited as a meme and a full nasal sound. In order to give it a full nasal sound, we have to recite it for 2 seconds. Okay, so here we have a tanween of dhamma. So let's look at the tanween followed by mim mushaddad. Okay, so over here, this here is a dhammatain. This carries a nasal sound in it. And how we read this, how it's written and how we read it is adhabum muqimun. Adhabum muqimun. So what happens is that this tanween of dhamma turns into a dhamma, and in turn we merge into the mim mushaddad to do the full nasal sound. Adhabum muqimun. So it's written as a tanween, but we recite it as a dhamma. Let me read those for you again. عذاب مقيم عذاب مقيم. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So that's the rule. Let's just go over this one more time. So the lesson was idgham, which means assimilation. If you see a noon sakin or a tanween, a nasal sound will be made. These are rules that tell you what that nasal sound is. The next letter after a noon sakin or tanween decides the nasal sound. So you must always look at the next letter. So for the sake of, if the next letter is noon mushaddad, there will be a full nasal sound. And the same applies to a mim mushaddad. There will also be a full nasal sound. Okay. Jazakallah. Okay, that's the rule in focus done for today. Okay, so let's go on to our recitation practice today. So the recitation practice is of Surah Al-Abbasa, which is a Meccan surah. It's part number 30, it's chapter number 80. It has 43 verses in it, and it has one ruku, and the order of revelation is number 24. Okay, on to the recitation. Okay, so we shall be doing verses 35 to 43. So discipline in charge, can I have a student at the mic for recitation, please? And while we're waiting, could everybody fill in the form that's been put in the chat box for your attendance? Don't forget to fill that form in. It records that you were here at class today. So if everybody could do that, Jazakallah. Okay, can I have the student, please?
Can G2593 please unmute themselves?
G2593, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Okay, so let's start, and I will recite for you in the first verse, and then we can continue, yes? So if you
Okay.
can follow behind me. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
فإذا
فإذا
جاءت الطامة
جاءت الطامة.
Okay, that's a bit tricky, so let's take that slowly. جاء
جاءت
الطامة
الطامة.
Okay, so when we're reciting, it's important to see what rule is there. So above this mim mushaddad, you can see a fatha, and fatha is only read for how long? Do you know?
1 second.
Done. Okay, so this one, so when we're reciting, we're trying to join it onto the bar, which is very tricky anyway. But when you're reciting it after the recitation that you've joined, we don't elongate it. It's only one. Let me read that for you. الطامة
الطامة
الكبرى.
الكبرى.
Okay, that was quite tricky, but that's well read. Okay, next one. يوم يتذكر.
يوم يتذكر.
Okay, shall we read it slower? يوم
يوم
يتذكر
يتذكر
الإنسان
الإنسان
ما سعى.
ما سعى.
Well done. Okay, that was very tricky. Over here, we have a noon sakin over here. So it's really important to see what letter comes after the noon sakin. That decides how we're going to say the noon sakin. In this case, this is an ikhfa, and the noon is slightly hidden, but it's still there. And if we hold it for a couple of seconds, that's when we can do it correctly. So let me read that for you, and pay attention to the noon sakin as I'm reading it. الإنسان
الإنسان
ما سعى
ما سعى
وبرزت
وبرزت
الجحيم
الجحيم
لمن يرى
لمن vivo
over here. So لمن يرى.
لمن vivo
Okay, that's okay. It's a bit tricky. So when we come across a noon sakin and it's followed by a ya, there is a slight noon sound in that as well. And so we have to make the noon sound with it in order for it to be connected onto this mushaddad ya. So we read it like this. Maya. And we give it some time so that we can say the noon sakin properly. Li yara.
لمن يرى
Wonderful, you're getting there. The noon sound comes from your nose. So if you could try that one more time. لمن يرى.
لمن يرى
That's better. فأما من طغى.
فأما من طغى
Wonderful. وآثر الحياة الدنيا. I'm going to take that slowly. I've just read it for you, but when we find it tricky, we can slow down. So وآثر.
وآثر
So when we come to a stop, the lessons that we learned last week was that when you come to a ra or a kasra, a ra with a kasra, how do you stop? What happens to the ra when we stop?
it has a tasm on it.
Yes, that's correct. Well done. So that's only when we come to a stop on it. So for example, we're breaking it down, so we will be stopping on it. And in this case, you say thar rather than thara because we're stopping it. Yeah. وآثر
وآثر
الحياة
الحياة
الدنيا
الدنيا
الدنيا.
الدنيا
Well done. That was really, really good reading. Some of those letters and rules are quite well done. You're reading very well. Okay, so Jazakallah G2593. That was really good reading. Just remember, you've learned all the rules very, very well. And just remember to apply them well as well. Jazakallah.
okay
Well done.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Discipline charge. Can I have another student at the mic, please?
Can G2722 please unmute themselves?
G2722. Assalamu alaikum. G2722.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine.
Good. That's very good to hear. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so would you like to start reading from here? I'll also help you read and then we can take it from there. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ
فإن الجحيم
هي المأوى.
هي المأوى.
Okay, just quickly, do you know why we stopped over here and we stopped at him rather than hima?
Because it's what?
Well done, yes. And what happens to the fatha when we stop on this?
It turns into a sakin.
Well done, mashallah. Okay, that's very good. Would you like to read from here onwards? Or would you still like my help?
I want your help.
Okay. وَأَمَّا
وأما
sorry, من خاف
من خاف
مقام
من خاف
مقام ربه ونهى النفس
مقام ربه ونهى النفس
عن الهوى
عن الهوى
فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
Well done, that's really good reading, mashallah. Okay. يسألونك عن الساعة.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
Well done. Keep reading.
فيما أنت من ذكراها.
Okay, wonderful. That was really, really good reading. And I can see you're picking up the rules very well. Okay, so, right, okay, there were very few mistakes. So well done for your recitation. Do apply the rules and keep on reading as you are. So well done. Jazakallah G2722.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Discipline charge. Can I have another student, please?
Can G2722 please unmute themselves?
G2722. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, that was G2722. Can we have another student?
No, last one was G2732.
Oh, was it 32? Okay, and this is G2722.
G2, yeah.
Jazakallah. Okay. G2722. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. So we're going to start from here again. So go ahead and I'll recite if you could just follow with me.
Okay.
فإذا
فَإِذَا
جاء.
جاء.
Okay, so when we're stopping here, this one, what happens to this Hamza?
Do you make a jerk sound?
Correct. And why?
I'm not sure.
Because we're coming to a stop or a pause, which means a waqf. And when we come to a waqf, this fatha will turn into a sukoon, and it joins onto the jim. And so just only because we're stopping here, that's the reason we would do that. But in continuation, we would read it as ja'ati ma. So we would read in continuation, we would read the fatha, but in this case, because we're stopping, it turns into a hamza. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading. Let's see if you can join them together. جاءت الطامة.
جاءت الطامة.
Okay, so there's a few rules here. When we're reciting this one, the alif is not separate. We just elongate it. This is an extra elongation. This one's an extra long elongation because it carries a madde qabir, which means it's a elongation of 5 to 7 seconds. So you have to make it very long. And when we're reciting it, it's ja'at tamma. Over here, you can see a mim mushaddad. What occurs when we see a mim mushaddad?
I'm not sure.
So a nasalization occurs. And in order for that nasalization to occur, we have to join, beneath this shadda, there are two memes, and we have to join the first meme onto the dwa, the elongation of the dwa. That means we need to hold it for a second or two. Let me explain to you. At-tamma. So I'm not reading as at-tamma. I'm actually holding on to the meme for 1 second in order for the nasal sound to apply. At-tamma.
الطامة.
Okay, so slightly longer, the ta, if you could try that.
الطامة.
Okay, so when we're joining it to the meme, we recite the meme for 2 seconds. At-tamma.
الطامة.
Okay, because you're as you're reciting, you're fading out. I can't hear the meme bit, but that's how you recite it. Okay. Al-Kubra.
Al-Kubra.
Yawma yatadhakkar
Yawma yatazakkar.
al-insan
Al-insan.
ma sa'a.
Ma sa'a.
The ain's very tricky. It's a throat sound. So if you could try that. Ma sa'a.
Ma sa'a.
Wonderful. Okay, so over here you've seen I've highlighted the noon sakin, and there are some rules concerning the noon sakin. In this case, it's followed by a seen, and in this case we do an ikhfa, which is a partially hidden noon sound. So rather than saying insa, we say insan.
Insan.
So in order to do it, we hold it for a second as well. So al-insan.
Al-insan.
ما سعى
Ma sa'a.
وبرزت.
Waburizat.
Okay, so this one here, how long do we do that for?
Is it 1 second?
Yes, well done. So try that. وبرزت
Waburizat
الجحيم.
al-jahim.
Okay, why did we make this dhamma into a sukoon?
I'm not quite sure.
Because we're stopping, and it's the rule of waqf. This is the rule you've been learning. So when we stop at this sign here, when we've paused for a breath or we come to the end of a verse, if we see a dhamma, that dhamma turns into a sukoon. So in this case, al-jahim
Al-jahim.
liman yara.
Liman yara.
This noon sakin is a sound that when you see a ya mushaddad, it does still you make that nasal sound. Man yara.
Man yara.
فأما من طغى.
Falama man tarza.
Okay, so this here, when you see an alif followed by a letter, that alif is pointing this way. And if it was pointing the other way, it would be a lam, or if it's connected. But in this case, it's standing by itself. This is an alif. So فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى.
Fa'ama man tara.
Okay, this here, this letter, what is this letter here? Do you know what that letter is? This one here. That's a ghain, yes? It looks very different here, but it's a ghain, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this is sound that comes from your throat, a gha sound, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so over here you can see the mushaddad over here, a meme mushaddad. What occurs here? Do you know how to recite the meme mushaddad?
Is it 2 seconds?
Correct, yes. And why do we need to do it for 2 seconds?
I'm not quite sure.
So this is a mushaddad, and a mushaddad is a connecting stroke. Beneath this mushaddad, there are 2 memes. And what we do, this meme carries a nasal sound. And in order for you to say the nasal sound, you have to hold on to the meme for a second extra in order for the nasal sound to occur. And it occurs on the first meme. So, فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى.
Fa'ama man tara.
Okay, so when we're joining, as you can see, there are 2 memes here. The first one is a sakin meme, and the second one is a fatha. It carries a fatha. So what we have to do, we have to join the first meme onto this alif. Can you see that alif there?
Yes.
What sound does that make when you recite it? How do you read that?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, by itself, you read it as ah. Okay, and when you come across a mushaddad, you have to join it onto the previous mutaharik letter, which in this case is the a. So in order for us to join it, we have to join the alif onto the meme. And how we do that is we say If you could say okay, that you have to hold on to it for 1 second, right? So that sound goes into your nasal passage in your nose and it vibrates for a second. Yes?
Yeah.
Try that. Okay, and then after this meme, there is also an alif, which means it's elongated afterwards as well for 2 seconds. So this is how we're going to read this. Much better. Do you understand how to read it?
Yes.
Okay, so next time when you're finding that tricky, slow it down and break it up, and you can figure out how to join it by doing that. Let's see what the letter is before it, and then join it onto the meme mushaddad or the noon mushaddad, and take it slowly and recite it in separate bits if you can. That would help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى.
مَنْ طَغَى.
Wonderful, excellent. Jazakallah. That was really good reading. Continue your recitation and do pay attention to the strokes above the letters and the letters as well. So Jazakallah G2722. That was very good reading. Okay, so we're going to quickly go on now to the QRS part of our lesson today. Today's QRS part is, 1 second, if you just excuse me, we're doing part 19 today. So in order to make the Quran easier to read, the Quran is split into 30 parts. And today's part is part 19, and it begins, each part begins with a certain set of words. And in this case, part 19 begins with وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ. Surah Al-Furqan, which is chapter 25, and it's verse 22. And it finishes at Surah An-Naml at 20, which is chapter 27, and is verse 60. And I can quickly show you on my, so 1 second, let's go back to where I was. Okay, so over here you can see it says part 19. That's indicating the part 19 is beginning here. You can see the words over here. It says وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ. So this is where part 19 starts. Normally over here it will tell you it's part 19. In this case, for some reason it's not there. Okay, and this finishes at, let me just quickly get it on the screen. And 1 second. So this finishes over here, where the verse 60 of sorry, Surah An-Naml, and the next part starts here. So that's the end of that QRS part of the Holy Quran. We were looking at part 19 of the Holy Quran, and I'm just going to quickly go back to that. Okay, so again, just quickly to recap, it starts with the words وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ. Surah Al-Furqan, which is chapter 25, verse 22, and it finishes at An-Naml, chapter 27, verse 60. Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, on to 1 second. Back to our recitation for today, if you just wait 1 second. Right, okay, so can I have a student for the recitation?
Can G2668 please unmute themselves?
G2668, Assalamu alaikum. G2668, Assalamu alaikum. Can we have another student, please?
Can G2594 please unmute themselves?
G2594, Assalamu alaikum. G2594.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, alhamdulillah. Okay, so shall we recite? I'll read and then you can read with me. So let's start.
Did I read Dawuz and Tasmiyah?
Yes, you can go ahead and read that if you like.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, mashallah, jazakallah. Okay, so if we recite up to here, so فَإِذَا sorry. فَإِذَا جَاءَتْ
فإذا جاءت
الطامة الكبرى
الطامة الكبرى.
Okay, that's quite tricky. So this meme we have to hold on to. So الطامة الكبرى.
الطامة الكبرى.
MashaAllah, you're reading very well. So يوم يتذكر
يوم يتذكر
الإنسان
الإنسان
ما سعى
الإنسان ما
عين. Sorry, you're going to have to excuse me. I have a cold today, so it's kind of so the sound is عين. Yeah, it's quite a tricky sound. It comes from your throat, but well done. You said it correctly. Sound. ما سعى
سأ
وبرزت الجحيم
وبرزت الجحيم
لمن يرى
لمن يرى
فأما من طغى
فأما من طغى
وآثر الحياة الدنيا
فآثر الحياة الدنيا.
Well done, you're reading very well. فإن الجحيم
فإن الجحيم
هي المأوى
هي المأوى
وأما من خاف مقام man. In this case, it's a izhar. We say the noon clearly for 1 second. Man khaf.
من خاف
مقام ربه.
من خاف مقام ربه.
Well done, mashallah. ونهى النفس.
ونهى النفس.
Okay, so this noon mushaddad, nafs. So hold the noon mushaddad because it makes a nasal sound, and in order for you to make the nasal sound, you have to hold it for a second. So ونهى النفس.
ونهى النفس.
Well done. عن الهوى.
عن الهوى.
Well done. Okay, so over here we stopped over here and we turned this into a rabbih. Do you know why we did that?
Because when we are stopping, whenever at the end of a verse, or whenever we're stopping, like if it's a vertical kasra, we change it into a Sukoon.
Well done. Okay, brilliant. That's wonderful. Okay, yes, that's correct. So that's the rule of waqf. So in this case, when we're stopping here, if we're pausing or we've run out of breath, we can stop here and it turns into a sukoon. Okay, well done. Jazakallah. That was really good reading. And G2594. Jazakallah for your recitation today. I'll have another student, please. Jazakallah.
Allah Hafiz.
Have another student, please.
Can G2606 please unmute themselves?
G2606. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. G2606.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam warahmatullah. So, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and recite from here. I'm going to help you. So, there's a lot. One second. There's quite some background noise in your
Sorry, I'm just moved to a quieter room.
Okay. If you could get that noise, it's hard to read. We'll come back to you when that noise.
Hello?
Hi, we'll come back to you when.
Is better, or is this not much noise?
There's still some noise. Okay, let's try reading, and I'm sure it's okay. Okay,
Okay, where should I read from?
we're reading from here. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'll read, and if you or go ahead and read, and then hopefully go ahead.
Okay. فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
Okay, so you see this noon mushaddad and this noon mushaddad. What do we do to the noon mushaddad? What occurs when we're reciting this one?
We elongate it.
Okay, so when you see a mushaddad, a noon mushaddad or a mim mushaddad, there is a nasal sound, and in order for you to make the nasal sound, you have to hold on to the noon for a second. And so this is how you would read it. You that beneath the the shadda are two noons, and the first noon you hold on to. So you would recite it as فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
You could give it slightly longer just because the sound goes into your nasal passage for it to be a nasalization. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
فإن الجنة هي المأوى.
Well done. Okay, keep on reciting.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
Well done. Okay, that was good reading. So over here, what happens when you see a hamza with a fatha? How do we recite this one? Okay, so when you see a hamza, a short vowel, a hamza that carries a short vowel, it's not a jerk sound. All the short vowels, the kasra, the fatha, and the dhamma are softly expressed without a jerk sound. So instead of saying we will say softly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها.
Well done. That was a really, really good correction. So because we're reading from here, do you want to continue reading from here? Just read one more verse. Go ahead.
Okay.
From here.
فإذا جاء الطامة الكبرى.
Okay, well done. Okay, so you corrected that yourself. So that was the same rule there that we just corrected down there. So it's recited softly. So the rule for vowel is 1 second to be recited softly, rather than . Okay, no jerk sound with that one. Okay, and the elongation for madde kabir. Do you know how long that is? Do you know how long that is? This mud here is
3 to 6 seconds.
Okay, that would be madde saghir, and I'm not sure we have one on this page. No, this is a madde kabir. This one is 5 to 7 seconds. Okay, it's quite long. It's longer than you think it is. So if you try that again, but when you're reciting, you've got to remember the rule of mim mushaddad as well. and you have to join it on. So try that one more time. Go ahead. Okay, just remember what the rules are. So this one is very, very long. And when you come to the meme, you hold on to the meme. So this is how it's recited. At-Takallum. You see the meme? I held on to the meme before I let go of it to recite the fatha part of the meme. At-Takallum. Okay, well done. That's fine. Very good reading. Okay, so just remember the meme mushaddad rule that you have to hold on to the meme in order for the nasal sound to occur. Okay.
Yes. Can my brother please recite?
If you give me your brother's ID.
G2613.
G2613. Just hold on a second because we're just going to finish off now because our class is coming to a close. I hope I'm sure you can be chosen for the closing dua. So if you just wait 1 second, G2606 Jazakallah and G2613, if you just hold. Okay, so Jazakallah, we've come to the close of our class, and just to recap quickly, the rule today that we learned was assimilation, which is idgham, and in this case, it was idgham in naqis. Okay, and so the practice text that we had was chapter 80, verses 35 to 43. And the part number that we were doing today was part 19, and it starts again with وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 22, and it finishes at An-Namal, which is chapter 27, verse 60. The homework for today is to practice and apply the rules we have revised so far in your daily tilawat. Always look at the next letter after any noon sakin or tanween. That indicates how you are going to recite that noon sakin or tanween. And you can go to the Google Drive and you can find all the details to contact us here and all the necessary information that you may need. Okay, so can we have the student back, which is G2613? Assalamu alaikum, G2613. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, so would you like to read the dua for today? Now,
Yes.
I'll recite and you can follow. Allahumma arhamni bil-Qur'an al-azim.
Allahumma arhamni bil-Qur'an al-azim.
واجعله لي إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة.
وَاجْعَلْهُ لِي إِمَامًا وَنُورًا وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً.
Well done, Jazakallah. Okay, 1 second. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Okay, go ahead and recite the translation.
O Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great, and make it for me the leader, the light, the guidance, and the mercy.
Excellent, Jazakallah. And don't forget to register your attendance for today, which is in the chat box. And so, Jazakallah for joining our class today. That's the end of our class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.